Are your chickens on an egg-laying strike? Don't worry. These guys got the scoop on why your hens aren't producing and how to get those eggs rolling again. Before we discuss some egg laying, I just want to say that we enjoy reading everyone's comments and questions. And recently, Bee's Chickens posted a question specifically for Steve. He knows who to go to regarding questions, obviously.
Yep.
And here it is. He says, "Hey guys, really enjoyed watching all your old vids and now watching your new ones. I've got a question for Steve regarding potatoes. Is there anything you can do to stop blight? And does soil condition increase or decrease it, e.g. too wet or too dry? Based in the Highland of Scotland, so understand there'll be climatic differences. Cheers, guys."
Yeah. So definitely climatic differences with the Highland of Scotland. Are there things you can do to stop it, to prevent it? Kind of. So potato blight, it's not actually a fungus. It's a water mold. It's very much like a fungus, and it's tough, especially if you deal with moisture or high humidity and cooler temperatures, kind of like you might have in the Highlands of Scotland. We live in the high desert. It's very dry here. We don't deal with that very often. It does come up. It can still happen, especially if you don't water properly. The best thing to do to prevent that is just going to be a couple of things. One, there are blight-resistant varieties you can try, rotating your crops, that kind of stuff. The big thing is just trying to keep air moving. So get those potatoes, get them healed up, space them out a little bit further, make sure you rotate your crops. You can even stake them and trellis them just to help that air. Anything you can do to help air move through there and keep it from staying. But that's what causes the problem, is when you get moisture on those leaves and stuff and it sits there. That's what really causes that problem. The other thing is those spores will overwinter in like potatoes. They don't do very well on their own in the environment, in the soil. But if you leave potatoes in the ground or your scrap ones to the side, they'll overwinter, and then you have the problem again next year. So make sure you're being careful and cleaning it up after yourself.
Personally, I've never had a problem with potato blight, and the reason is I don't grow potatoes. I live in East Idaho.
Get out of this state.
Everyone around me has huge fields of potatoes. I just get them from them.
Yeah.
All right, enough of the potato talk. Let's get to the real reason we're here.
All right.
And that's why our chickens stop laying eggs. So what are some of the most common reasons chickens stop laying?
Well, I think the number one reason is going to be some form of stress. If a chicken is under stress, that's going to affect her physically, and she's just going to slow down or even stop laying eggs altogether. It could be stress because they're moved into a new coop. A new environment is going to cause stress. New birds added to the flock will cause stress. Predators prowling around and spooking them, that's going to cause stress. Loud noises, or even a significant change in the weather. If it goes from, being mild to suddenly being extremely hot, my chickens slow down. Or if it's been dry all summer and all of a sudden we get a big thunderstorm, they might slow down for a few days after that. So stress is the big one.
Yeah, anything that stresses those chickens out, it takes a lot of energy to form those eggs and produce those eggs. So when they're fighting other stressors, that can pull from egg production. Mm-hmm. The other big one is diet,
yep.
Right? You want to make sure that they're eating a nutritional diet that meets all their nutritional needs. It takes a lot of calories and a lot of nutrition, right? Mm-hmm. How nutritional eggs are, well, that nutrition's got to come from somewhere. She's got to be consuming that in the diet. We think calcium's a big one because they're going to use that for eggshells, but your protein and all your other vitamins and minerals are going to be important as well. So if she doesn't have a balanced diet to get those nutrients, she's not going to be able to produce those eggs.
And another thing that really affects egg laying is how much light there is. So a lot of people who are new to keeping chickens are surprised that when fall comes and we eventually get to the point where there's not as much daylight time each day, those chickens are going to slow down or even stop laying. Pretty much if you get less than 12 to 14 hours of daylight a day, they're just not going to lay that many eggs.
Right, and that's kind of built into chickens, right? You think
Yep.
about why does a chicken lay eggs to raise babies? That isn't very productive in the middle of winter. So
Right.
they just don't do that. Now you can keep light on them in the winter to kind of force them to continue to lay. I know I don't. I don't think you do either. It's a personal choice what you want to do, but that's that will cause them to stop laying or greatly reduce when they lose those hours. The other thing that can really affect laying, and it kind of goes back to the first thing that Brian talked about, stress, is parasites. If they've got sickness or a disease, some sort of lice or mites, those take a toll on that chicken, and that's going to cut their laying as well. So if you've got a hen that's suddenly stopped producing as well as she was, daylight hours haven't changed, diet hasn't changed, take a look and investigate whether maybe there's a health issue going on there.
Well, I'd have to say you're probably not going to be having omelets tomorrow because I snuck around and your chickens look pretty scared.
My chickens are always scared, especially when you come around.
Not as much as the dog, but it's a different story. All right. Well, when we're talking about chickens, does age affect or egg production?
Sure, it does. So chicks obviously don't lay eggs once they mature to that age, usually 22 to 26 weeks, depending upon the breed. It can be a little sooner, a little later, but that's kind of a general area. Then she'll start producing. And chickens, again, breed will play a role, but generally the first year and the second year, you're going to get your best production, and then it's going to start to taper off after that.
Yeah, really after age 2, it's going to decline, but like Steve said, that depends on the breed. There are some breeds, like a Rhode Island Red. One of the things that makes it popular is that it's going to continue to produce eggs at an older age than some others. Now, there's some extremes like the death layer that are known to keep producing for 5-6 years consistently, but they're also very expensive birds too.
Yeah. So just kind of a general rule, most of your high-laying hybrids, right, that produce a lot of eggs, you're a year or two.
Right.
And then they're going to start having health issues and not do well. A lot of your older barnyard, when we think dual purpose or whatever breeds, they don't meet the same production in year 1 or 2, but they're going to do better in years 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
All right. So how can you adjust their diet to boost egg laying, or can you?
Yeah, you sure can. I mean, Steve kind of touched on this. Using a layer feed is a great start, right? These layer feeds are formulated to make sure they get the right nutritional balance, and that starts with having the right amount of protein. 16 to 18% protein for a laying hen is pretty optimal, but it also provides a lot of the other nutrients they need. That's why we say a layer feed is great rather than just feeding them scraps or something like that, because the layer feed is going to help a chicken thrive rather than just survive.
Exactly. So there are 38 different nutrients that a chicken needs in the correct proportions and amounts in order to really produce well. And if you're expecting her to be able to push out an egg every single day, she's got to have those nutrients. And so using a balanced feed is a great way to do that. Even still, some things like calcium are sometimes low. So offer free choice calcium. Just get some oyster shell, something like that, and put it right there in the coop where they can go over and get it if they need it. That's a good way to make sure that she's getting that, because that's a big one. They're going through a lot of calcium to produce all those shells. So have the balanced feed, but then also provide some oyster shell as a supplement.
Yeah, and I said start with a layer feed, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't feed them anything else. Some kitchen scraps, in moderation, are going to be great for your chickens. If you've got some greens, for example, that's going to provide a lot of different vitamins and minerals that will really help boost that nutritional need. And making sure they have clean water.
Yeah.
That's a huge one. Water is a necessary nutrient, just like the other 38 Steve was talking about, but it also helps process all those other nutrients if they're well hydrated, and they're going to stay well hydrated if they have clean, cool water throughout the day.
Yep. And think about what percentage of the egg is water. If she's dehydrated, she's not producing eggs.
Right.
So how about if you let your chickens free range quite a bit? You still need to put feed out for them?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
You can let your your chickens,
Let
you
your
can let your
children
children forage in the field too, but if you let your chickens go foraging in the field, they're going to find a lot of different things. They're going to focus on the things they like the most, and that might not necessarily be the most balanced nutrition. So by providing that balanced layer feed, they're going to get a lot of that, and then when they're foraging, they're going to supplement for some of the other things that they want more of.
Yep, I keep a balanced layer feed in front of my birds all year long. They eat much less in the summer than they do in the winter. Now, part of that's temperature based, but part of that's also they're filling up on a lot of other things, but they can still come back and get that nutrient mix that they need at the end of the day if they haven't filled up on other stuff.
Yep.
So you talked about light earlier. Let's dig a little deeper into that. I mean, how much does light actually play in egg production?
Huge. It's something that's built into the chickens that when winter rolls around and the days become shorter.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah,
Let's
sorry to bring up the
right there.
subject. But when the days do become shorter, that's the time when it's going to get cold. They're going to need the energy that they get from their feed to stay warm. They're going to need it to protect themselves in the wintertime. They're not raising chicks, so they don't really need to lay eggs during the wintertime. So it's just kind of something that is instinctively built in them that when the days get shorter, there's no need to lay eggs anymore.
Yeah, it's like just like a tree drops its leaves, that kind of stuff. Chickens are like, hey, we're going to slow down. We're not going to do this. But you want to make sure that happens gradually, just like Mother Nature, right?
Yeah.
Hey, a couple months ago the sun didn't set till 10:30. Now it sets at 8. In a couple months it's going to be setting at 4:30. Make those changes gradually. You can add extra, and we've talked about this. You can add extra light, and this is the biggest mistake I see with light. Is if you're going to add extra light, do it in the morning, right? Because people will be like, oh, it's getting dark at 4 o'clock now, so I'm going to have a light bulb out there, and it will shut off at 8. Well, it's still normally bright, and those chickens aren't running around. Then at 8 o'clock it goes like that, and your chickens are thrust into complete darkness. They're not on the roost. Normally it's getting dim. It's time to go get on the roost. It causes chaos. So don't do that to your chickens. Have the light kick on in the morning. Put those extra light hours in the AM so that they can still kind of see, hey, it's time to go get on the roost in the night and not be thrown into sudden darkness, all of a sudden.
And keep in mind, as humans have intervened in chicken breeding and worked to develop specific breeds, one quality that they bred into some breeds is the ability to lay better through the winter. So if that's important to you, that you get some egg production in the wintertime, rather than adding light, one of the options is to look for a breed that has been bred to lay eggs in the winter. Just be careful if you do use a light. I know this is one of the big concerns. Lots of people end up burning down their coops every year because they aren't safely using electrical appliances, including lights, inside of their coop. So be really careful if you're using any kind of electrical device inside the coop that you don't burn it down.
The other quick note to mention on light is you don't need a lot. About a 40-watt bulb, a string of Christmas lights, something like that. Something that you can read a book with, right? That's all the light you need. You don't need to light it up like the Vegas Strip and, oh, my eyes burn. Just a little bit of light is going to do the trick. So you don't need to go overboard with that either. And like I say, a string of Christmas lights gives you a little bit of light. It's not pulling a lot of energy.
Doesn't use a lot
they
of
don't
energy,
get hot. Something like that's
so it's a safer option in most
better
cases.
option than trying to hang it. Because a lot of people think, oh, as long as I'm doing that, I'll just have a heat bulb.
So do you
Now it
prefer
gives you
colored
more
lights
danger.
or white lights for your Christmas lights?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm too lazy to hang Christmas lights.
You've never seen Christmas lights on my house, have you?
No, for the
Not that I don't like them, but I just don't do it.
All right, and finally, should you ever consult a vet if you think your chickens have some issues with laying eggs?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about some of the different things that are going to cause problems with laying. We talked about stress. We talked about diet. Of course, the winter daylight issue. But if all those things are kind of normal and you still have a chicken that won't lay, maybe the rest of the flock is laying fine, but this one bird isn't, that would be unusual, because if one's under stress, it's likely a lot of them are, and they're getting the same diet, that type of thing. You might want to consult a vet to see if there's some medical problem, some illness or injury that's causing them not to lay.
Yep, for sure. The other thing to think, if it's just one, she might be the bottom on the pecking order. So make sure she's not being bullied, or make sure she hasn't found a secret stash that you don't know about. We've all been there, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to clean up the yard, and you move this can, all of a sudden there's like 40 eggs in this nest behind there. So that happens too. So if it's just one bird, make sure she hasn't got a secret stash someplace. But definitely, if you're seeing, look for other signs, right? Hey, is she kind of lethargic, or do her feathers look rough? Those will be additional hints that, hey, there may be a problem with this bird, and I want to talk to somebody else and get them involved.
And one more thing on the veterinary issue. If it's an issue with egg binding, and there are ways to check for that, meaning a stuck egg, she's produced an egg, she just can't pass the egg. That is really a dangerous situation that needs immediate attention. If you have a vet in your area that treats poultry, I would get her to that vet immediately.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You guys, great information here. So now everyone knows what to look for to keep those eggs flowing. Eating omelets every day.
That's right.
Brian. So if you have any comments, tips, tricks that you have learned through your chicken keeping experiences, put them in the comments. We'd love to read them and share them with others. Also, if you think we've earned it, give us a like,
Yes,
subscribe, and of course,
Keep on hobby farming.